there's another story I was kind of interested in. As you know, and I'm not going to dress it up, I'm a bloody tobacco nicotine addict. It is incredibly bad for my health, and if there's one thing my doctors are now telling me post my heart attack, I'm drinking way less, hardly at all, but I do have to stop smoking. Maybe people say you should take up vaping, and I haven't, because I think vaping, if you're not smoking, why be vaping? It's a completely constructed, less natural habit. But I thought vaping was not deadly like smoking is. I mean, you know, a cigarette is a product which, if used properly, kills you. Is vaping the same? And then I see that the health advocates in New Zealand are trying to crack down, particularly on young people vaping. Why is this? I thought I'd ask the health advocate. So we are joined now by Ben Youdan from ASH, Action for Smoke Free 2025. And I'll push the button and get him on live. Ben, welcome to the platform. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So, Ben, explain this to me. I can understand the smoking thing. It's a crappy, deadly habit, right? Whilst I'm a smoker, I support the idea of getting rid of it. But I thought, and I think many other New Zealanders thought, that vaping was an alternative, particularly for young people, that didn't do you any damage, that you can vape and it's not going to hurt you. Having stopped largely, and the figures tell us that campaigns against youth smoking have been largely successful, and vaping has been part of that change, what's wrong with the vaping now?
Well, it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with it. And, I mean, you're quite right, as you say. Yeah, we know vaping is considerably less harmful than smoking, because basically people smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the tar that comes from smoking, burning tobacco. And the vapes give the nicotine, but without all that tar. So
it doesn't have any of the carcinogenic effects of tobacco and lung damage?
Yeah, it's substantially less harmful. So, I mean, it's unlikely to be more than about sort of 5% the harms of smoking. They're not completely risk-free because you're still pulling stuff into your lungs. But if you're smoking and you switch to vaping, it's going to dramatically reduce your risks of getting sick and dying as a consequence of smoking.
All right. So why are you guys getting down on vaping?
Well, we're not. What we want is adults who smoke to be able to get vapes and to be able to use them to quit smoking. And we're seeing that they've been an absolute game changer for smoking adults in New Zealand. We've seen bigger declines in the last 2 or 3 years as a result of vaping than we've seen in probably 2 generations in terms of the decline in smoking. Yeah. And we want that to continue because the outcome in terms of people not getting lung cancer, reducing cardiovascular disease, not dying and getting sick from smoking will be absolutely massive in a few years. The worry at the other end is that kids who've never smoked taking up the vapes, it's definitely not as bad as them taking up smoking, but it's not risk-free. And the worry is for those...
Well, can you quantify the risks at this stage?
It's very difficult to quantify them exactly just because there's so much variation.
So that's a no. That's a no, Ben. That's a no, isn't it? You can't quantify accurately quantify it.
No, and so a lot of the estimates and the science that's looking at the harms of vapes has looked at actually, what are the constituents and the chemicals in them? What do we know about the impact of them on the human body? And we know that it's nowhere near as bad as it is as cigarettes. So, but part of the issue around young people is for that minority who become addicted or dependent upon the nicotine and some of the issues that come with that. And so it's not the majority. The majority of kids are experimenting, but there is a proportion who are struggling because they're suffering from withdrawal and then finding it hard to concentrate and struggling at school.
Okay. Ben, you're funded by the government, right, Ash?
No, we're not, no.
Who are you funded by?
No. We get funded by donors. So,
who are your donors?
So we get funded by charitable grants. We get funded by.
Okay, from whom, Ben? Don't jump around this.
The biggest donor is the Heart Foundation.
And who funds the Heart Foundation?